pledge of allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay, there are no audience comments. Old business. Next on the agenda, discussion and possible action, resolution 3376. Floor recognizes the Alderman for the second ward. There wasn't any. I said there wasn't any. Discussion and possible action, resolution 3376. Law would entertain a motion. So if there's no discussion.
To move back the effective date of this ordinance is impossible at this point now that it's in play. So
If you want to, right, during the license period for a liquor license, you can't change the terms of it during the term of the license. Is that what you're asking? That's why, like, when you adopted the ordinance originally in June, you made it for November.
So if we was to potentially repeal it, we make the repeal date for this particular ordinance November 1st or December 1st.
That's the period.
So the ordinance here that was for the special meeting, you want to make it,
There's no ordinance here for special.
so you want to,
We're talking about 3376 or 3377 was passed.
okay, so you want to repeal it retroactively?
Yes. That will have to until we can figure out the ordinance. I think that's a business increase. I don't think this ordinance we have now is clear.
So then what we would have to do is we would need to have, like have a legislative meeting to figure out what we wanted instead, right?
You know, we can revert back to what we had on the books before, and then that gives us time period to create something new. Actually go here and talk to others outside.
Okay, so you would need an ordinance to repeal the previous ordinance, okay? That would be the step that you would need.
So I can make a motion today to repeal 3376.
Well, you need an ordinance, all right. So you need to, if you've passed an ordinance, the only way you can change an ordinance is by another ordinance. So you need an ordinance either amending it or modifying it or changing it, repealing it, or whatever you want to do, and then you need to bring that forward. But the problem is, you need to motion that up, and make the changes to the ordinance, and then you need a supermajority vote to have something effective immediately. So, in order to get an ordinance effective immediately,
So what if we did December 1st, and we made January 1st?
If I may, because she's sounding not quite understanding. You're saying that the period runs from November 1st to November 1st.
yes.
So he's asking you, can you change it to make it effective December 1st? Make sure I'm
Yeah, we need to.
make it effective December 1st. Even though the period is already.
You can't, not in the middle of the license, you can't change the terms of a liquor license in the middle of the liquor license.
I thought the season was still open.
No, under the city code, the liquor license is expired on October 31st. So now we're in the November 1st season that goes to next October 31st.
But have the issue been used with license?
We're in the middle of the license renewal period, but under the
Some
city,
says we can't make any adjustment before the new license passed.
The licenses would still be effective from November, they're still effective from November 1st.
So we can't take nothing to the liquor until after for the next period.
you can't change the terms of a license during the license period. That's why when you adopted it before in June, you adopted it in June to be effective in November, because that was after the expiration of the then existing license term under the city code.
And then, so you, the idea that you need, that we need a new ordinance to replace and repeal, How does that work?
Yeah, I mean,
So we'll have to wait all the way till November 2020 for a new ordinance to go into effect. Or October 31st to make sure.
you could do it like you did this time, you passed it in June or November, I mean,
So I can pass ordinance, or council can pass ordinance to go into effect January 1st, 2020.
if it's changing the terms of the liquor licenses, yeah, you can't do that during the term of the,
Why is that?
because the people who have the ability of the licenses have rights under the code.
Any other way to go?
City Hall code?
Yeah, under the city code.
So then we can have to change the code.
Well, you have all sorts of due process problems if you're changing the terms of the liquor licenses during their terms.
We don't care.
There's a process on how you rescind your vote. How ultimately rescind your vote. Good ordinance.
There's no, you can't rescind the vote once you vote.
So a motion to repeal, please, do a second.
You can make a motion to amend, or you can make a motion to change it, or you can make, you can't make it by motion though, because you adopted it as an ordinance. So you need to pass another ordinance, you need to figure out what the ordinance is going to say, you have to give people notice of the ordinance, we need to follow the Open Meetings Act.
But to be clear, but doing that in the midterm would be problematic. Is that correct?
They can do it in the midterm, but it has to be effective.
But it would have to be effective the following term. So we passed an ordinance in June. We did not make that ordinance effective until November 1st because we could not change it in the middle of the term.
Yes.
So if they were to turn around and say they wanted to change the terms, now, they could even pass something now, but it would have to be,
So
couldn't take, I'm still talking, but it couldn't take effect until November of 2020.
Yes, November 1st.
Okay. All right.
So the supermajority to make it effective means it has to be supermajority.
Yes, it needs to be, it's a supermajority of corporate authorities, so that would include the mayor voting, so you need 5 votes.
And what kind of problems have to change the rules in the middle of the game?
Well, you wouldn't be following your own city code, but you would also have different constitutional problems and notice problems and due process problems.
But that's even with a supermajority?
Yeah, that's even with it. If you had a super majority to change all of the terms of the liquor licenses effective immediately, you would still have problems doing that in the middle of the term.
That's the point of bringing the business community to the table, prevent the problems, right?
Well, I don't, even bringing them in wouldn't change.
So we can figure out what the potential problem will be, so we hopefully avoid it. Right?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I mean, they wouldn't be able to come in and say, well, we would agree that you could violate our constitutional right. I mean, they couldn't agree to do that, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, so what happened on the code or the law if a business filed an injunction or something against it? How does that affect the code? When they, how does that?
If,
So businesses decide they don't like it, so they try to file a court.
well, we followed the law in adopting it, so if they think that they can, I wouldn't know what their basis would be for challenging it, but I would rather have the city continue to follow the city code so that if we did end up in a lawsuit, we could say, look, we had the right to change these terms, we gave people notice, we did it in advance, we followed
Yeah, no
the
notice.
Meetings Act, we followed the city code, we followed constitutional premises of due process. I mean,
So who process city code, constitutional property, right? So once we follow the city code, we get due process, we good.
well, as long as we follow all applicable laws, which is what we've been trying to do. And I know there have been lots of members of the city council working with the business community on these things. And that's why we're trying to dot our i's and cross our t's. Because I know everybody wants to follow the laws.
In other words, you don't think we should change the code?
Okay, that's a really broad question, because I haven't even read your whole city code. I know, there might be parts that need to be updated, like for example, with respect to the recreational marijuana. I mean, so I'm not going to say that I don't think you should change
Also,
this.
we come up with time. So you, for this council to actually make a law that's effective immediately, or in the future, you'll say we should go through the process and wait until next liquor issue license.
Well, if you're going to make any changes to the city code, yes, you have to go through the process, and
No, I get that. I'm saying, what's your, should we wait, or should we, get a super majority and go that way? If we really want to make a change.
if you want to make a change, I think what you should do is have the meetings, go through the legislative committee, come out with an ordinance, we can prepare whatever the ordinance is, we can walk you through the steps to do that, and then, but even if it's effective immediate, see, you can't have it effective immediately if it has anything to do with the terms of the liquor license. That's why we, with the junior.
Sales, hours of sale is considered in terms of legal license?
Yeah, that's why we waited to make the changes effective the next license renewal period. So we have community meetings, invite the businesses out to express their concerns or whatever. And I know that the city has been doing that even prior to till now. Pardon me?
You know what we did that?
Like,
People have been coming to the city council meetings.
after the fact.
After that, I didn't hear from you before.
But, well, everything was passed in an open meeting. The
No, I get
notice.
that.
But we had no take over this time. No, man.
Your recommendation, send this committee, go to the board.
I'm not making a recommendation one way or another with respect to policies of the city. The legislators can do that. I'm just a city attorney. I'm trying to tell you what to do, if it's legal or not. If you're asking me if it's my legal opinion that you should change the terms of the license and know the term, no, I would advise you against that.
No. Okay, so could you give us an opinion on the process of how to do it? What steps should we take first? Send committee?
Yeah, you have to go to committee, have an open committee meeting, decide what you want the terms to be. Then we would prepare an ordinance with whatever terms you want it to be. We could put it on the agenda. And then if it's something affecting the terms, the ordinance, you can adopt, like we did. We adopted the ordinance in June to be effective on November 1st. But if it's not impacting the terms, if it's something else. It's hard to speculate what might come out of the committee meeting, but we're happy to walk you through that process. Bring it forward here, have a vote on it. What's hard for me as a city attorney is when I get an agenda for a meeting and people haven't talked to me ahead of time about what they're trying to accomplish, so I'm not able to advise them about that. And then I come to a meeting where people didn't even ask me if I was available to attend the meeting, and it's just, I want to help the city accomplish what it wants to, but we need to have a process, and I know that's what we've been trying to establish.
Sorry, I'm on the 6th Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question is directed at council. Council, I understand your frustrations about not being kept abreast of meetings ahead of time. I've had scheduled meetings for the past few weeks and I didn't know anything about until the day before. Nobody contacted me, so I apologize on behalf of the city, and I do not understand your frustration in this matter. But, as my colleagues so eloquently put it, are you telling us, this city council, that we cannot act out and do what's in the best interest to change the betterment of quality of life for our citizens as far as changing ordinance 33, 76, and 77? Right now, due to the fact, are there any ordinances that's in our book for the city of Harvey where the city council may not have a total understanding of what they actually were voting on? Because I do understand that ordinance 33, 76, and 77 have more strong regulations and some different variables that I don't need to go into right now.
What do you do if you talk about somebody altered an old ordinance?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Someone did alter ordinance number 3377. The actual ordinance that was voted on, June 24th, is 3 pages long. The new ordinance that was signed by the clerk in the mayor's office was 5 pages long, and the language had been increased significantly. And I do have
Yes, please. Yes. Hold on, please, follow. Oh, yeah.
that wasn't the actual 3377 that was voted.
This one here. This was actually a draft that was inadvertently signed. And since that time, both the clerk, I believe, the clerk can both attest to it, that the actual what was.
Yeah, and maybe we should just explain that so everybody understands what happened, so.
No, what I would suggest is that there seems to be a lot of discrepancies and a lot of variables going on with the 7677. Now, my intention was to initially, I've had a great plan to I still don't know what happened.
There was prior to putting together the ordinances, there were drafts that were created. So those drafts were inadvertently signed by me. And so therefore, it wasn't what you guys voted on. So what we did was we went back and actually found the ordinance that was actually voted on, and I signed that one. Someone filed a Freedom of Information request, and in filing an information request, they were sent the draft. And so that is essentially corrected by the clerk's office. That's why. So what happens is, I think the perception is trying to be put out there that there's shenanigans with the ordinances, which there isn't. That was just an inadvertent error. That's all. I think 6 still has the floor.
Okay, well, my suggestion is, in order to, just to be fair across the board, I think that proposal that was initially, Mr. Mayor, we discussed it was the extension, not a reversal, not an amendment of the ordinance, but an extension of it to let it run from November 1st of 2019 to November 1st of 2020. It would actually really give us a golden opportunity to where we could go back and examine some things with this 76 and 77 that would both benefit business owners, residents, as well as the city council. They'll have a better understanding, and everybody, all stakeholders involved could make a more accurate decision as opposed to the one that was passed back in June. And that was only my objective, that I thought that we could come to a resolution on doing that. Now, 6 more surrender the floor.
Thank you. Well, we have the second, unless you want to yield to the fifth.
I got a question for the attorney. So with, after temporary suspension of the resolution of a particular part of the code, code.
No, you can vote to suspend the council's procedure rules during a meeting or something, but
Okay, I can understand section 4, city code.
no.
And then to amend it, it's too late to amend 3376 and 3377. How you saying?
No, you can, like, I just went through the procedure with you that you would have to follow if you wanted to amend it.
Chair recognizes the fifth ward.
Just to summarize what I've been hearing here. So basically, you can't repeal an ordinance at this time. There is no ordinance that's been prepared to replace 3376 or 3377. And as far as an extension in this, we would then be moving into the authorities of the liquor commission. And so then that would be at the mercy of that said individual's authority to do so as far as extending that period. And it seems like going ahead that the council would then need to refer this matter to legislative committee. If you have to do so with a supermajority. Otherwise, even then, it still wouldn't be enacted until November 1st of 2020. Am I correct on that?
That was
Is that what you're saying?
a good summary.
Thank you. All right.
Well, if I may add, with the exception of, if I'm clear to council, even if they had a supermajority, that it still would not be, because I want to make sure I'm clear. If the ordinance, if the council moved for the ordinance to take effect immediately, then that would be an immediate change of the terms. And the change of the terms cannot take place until November 1st of 2020.
Yeah, that's what I understood you to say, maybe.
Is that what it is? That's it? Yes. So hold on, I want to make sure that y'all know the Fifth Ward is the historic Fifth Ward is Ewing Ward.
Yeah, I am. I'm clear on the understanding that I was.
Okay. Recognize the chair.
Okay, so I
First,
need
second.
the change of terms. So terms can be changed, right? It just, you potentially can get sued or have some litigation to deal with. That's one something. But the terms can change with the majority, super majority votes, right?
Yeah. Is that what you're asking? Could they do something illegal? People can do illegal stuff, yes.
If the council had super majority to make something effective, aka changing the terms of the liquor license, that can happen, right? That would be on our.
They could have the ordinance effective immediately to take effect on November 1st.
Doesn't make sense. I have the ordinance effective immediately to take effect on November 1st. So if the council passed the new ordinance on January 22nd, it couldn't take place January 23rd. That's what I'm saying.
If you had a supermajority specifying what the emergency was, and if you had, yeah, you would
So
need
that
it.
has to be a emergency.
Well, that's the finding you would have to make in order for it to.
I'm just like you. So I'm going to, let's be clear understanding here. If they pass an ordinance, making it effective immediately, like the Alderman said, on January 22nd, if they had a supermajority, even though it changes the terms of the existing license, they can still have it take effect on January 23rd.
No, that's not what he asked. He
Well, no,
didn't.
that's exactly what I'm asking.
Okay, you asked me if they passed an ordinance generally, and if you pass an ordinance generally, no, if it's changing the terms. I feel like I'm saying the same thing repeatedly.
I do too.
Yeah, so no, if you're changing the terms of the liquor licenses, that can't be effective until the next term. That has to be effective as of November 1st.
Okay, so then what does the supermajority do? Because we're just a simple majority to change it, makes effective November 1st. So why did you bring up supermajority? I don't get the clear word.
Okay, because the Illinois Municipal Code specifies that if you want to have an ordinance that is effective, normally when you pass an ordinance, there's a whole process. You have to publish it, it has to be effective after the veto period for the mayor expires. If you make a finding that an emergency exists and it's articulated in the ordinance and it is passed by a supermajority of the people voting, including the mayor, so you would need 5 votes, that's how you generally would make a general topic ordinance effective immediately. Okay, I think that's part of it, but because here you have a different situation where you have rights of licensees involved, you can't change terms of a license during the license period. That's separate than the issue of generally when an ordinance will become effective. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, but I think the problem is that both got muddled together.
Okay.
And so the supermajority part got muddled into the liquor.
Right.
So the majority don't apply to it.
Right, it doesn't apply to me.
Right, it doesn't apply to the situation.
So then the best way to be to send these ordinances to committee.
That's what,
From what I'm hearing,
yeah, I believe so.
from what I'm hearing is send it to a committee, have the committee determine whatever changes that it may want to make. At which point in time, the council, it can go before the council. The council,
Next year, November 4th,
yes. And it would have to wait till November 1st of 2020 for it to go into effect.
So there's nothing else they can do to change the law. That's what you're saying, right? Because this license.
She just said that there was two process issues, constitutional issues, things of that nature.
Nothing that you want because the licensees are involved, even the due process and all that stuff took place properly. So obviously.
You can't change the terms of liquor license in the middle of the license period.
So if there's, yes, Alderman from the full board.
Yeah, this is directed towards legal counsel. I got 2 simple questions. Basically, we have, we was discussing the ordinance 3377, 3376 in June. We specifically was talking about midnight. What I've noticed that in Harvey, the residents of liquor store establishments have been starting to close at 11 o'clock. So that's an hour here from the initial time we were even discussing. So I'm confused about how was this situation never even brought up to the council and go from 12 o'clock to 11 o'clock to close the liquor store establishments.
You asking me, council, how she's supposed to know?
Well, I can ask you.
Well, I'm under the presumption. I'm under the presumption that when we submit the ordinance to the council, that the council reads. And that when the council reads, the council, just like now, comes before and asks a myriad of questions. If that was a question at that particular point in time, or if there was something that you didn't understand, then you could have brought that up after reading. It was, I mean, I'm just, I'm confused because if you didn't read it, then okay. But the vote was 5-1. There was only one Alderperson that voted against it, and that's the Alderman of the 6th Ward. Is that correct, Alderman?
That's correct, sir.
And so I'm presuming that somebody of the other 5 read the ordinances. So I don't even know what to do with that. Because if you're saying that you guys are not reading the ordinances, are you saying, let me be specific in my language, are you saying that you didn't read the ordinance?
What I'm saying, when I read the ordinance, it wasn't in there saying 11 o'clock. So how do we prove that?
Well, you can always go back to the,
Maybe we should.
to the recordings or whatever it is. But the bottom line is, if that was an issue at that particular point in time, the question should have been asked. If that question wasn't asked and the council still voted on it, it stands.
What I'm saying was that the discussion was midnight.
But I'm saying you could have discussed other things. You could have discussed other things during that time. You could have discussed a variety of things that would pertain to the particular ordinance. You could have discussed the 11, you could have discussed the midnight. You could have discussed the times of opening in addition to the times of closing. You could have discussed who it affected and who it didn't affect. You could have discussed all those things. we did a full discussion because this council is good for full discussions because we usually have 3-hour meetings. So we know that the discussion is happening. After discussion is had, then the vote was taken. And like I said, it was 5-1. So I'm just confused because if you didn't read it, I understand, but you're not saying you didn't read it. And if you read it, then I'm believing that you understood that it was also the 11 o'clock provision was in it. And for the record, I'm not really feeling too good about the 11 o'clock either myself. Good. Okay, I'll put that on the record. I'm not feeling good about it. But we are where we are now. And the vote was taken. And we do have procedures. And so this is where we are. But I did read it, and that's why I didn't ask the question.
So when it comes to the voting process on any ordinance, we can't make any mistakes. So if we want to hit on any ordinance, I hope everybody understands why we send things to committees and we go over and discuss it with the public, discuss it with the council before we vote on anything, because if we make one mistake, we can't change the material either.
Well, the Patriot Act was something that was signed, by Congress and sent to the president. And of course, a lot of our leaders said they didn't read the act. Same thing with Obamacare. And then a lot of them turned around and said that they didn't read the act. I don't know what's true or what's not true. All I know is that when the vote was taken, there were plenty of questions asked. And at that particular point in time, everyone acted as if they had an understanding. So that's the only presumption there that I can have. If there's no further discussion of the,
Because it's also a resolution.
So should we motion to send it to the committee?
okay. Yes. Oh, 6-1. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Is there just a motion to refer it back 3370?
To send resolution ordinance 3376 and 3377 to legislative committee. Second.
No, are you trying to send the past ordinance?
Yes.
Back to committee? Oh, yes. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand. So there was a motion by the 6th and second by the 2nd, correct, or the 5th, historically. Okay. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Randall L.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Crudup. Alderman Rogers.
Yes.
Alderman Tolbert.
You forgot all of them.
Alderwoman Lewinsky.
So, motion to refer to committee carries. Okay, all right. So now that we've had all this such discussion on possible action, am I doing it right? Yes, open business, again, discussion of possible action, resolution 3377. So that was 76.
I thought I combined both of them together.
There wasn't a combined motion, so are you making the same motion for the
The
77?
same motion for 77.
Okay, that's a motion to refer ordinance 3377 to committee. A motion by the 6th. Need a second?
Second.
Second by the 4th. Clerk, would you please call it?
Alderwoman Gruen. Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Crudup. Alderman Randall L.
Yes.
Alderman Rogers.
Yes.
Alderman Tolbert.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion carries. Was there any particular reason why you, Alderman Rogers, why you put executive session on the agenda? Did you know that there was a need for one, or were you just putting it as a matter of course?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we really don't need.
Okay, all right. Okay, the motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion by the 6th Ward and seconded by the 2nd Ward. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Berlinski. Alderman Tolbert.
Yes.
Alderman Crudo. Alderman Key. Alderman Randall L. Alderman Rogers.
Okay, we stand adjourned.